Hi there, so I made the mistake of going into a bookshop. Yep, I do this every time, and I obviously came out with a lot of books, which is what we're going to talk about today. This is a huge book haul. I'm quite ashamed that it is huge because I was on a book buying ban. However, my only justification for this is that these were all books on my TBR. These are all books that I've wanted to read for ages, and there's no better time than the present to purchase them, because now I'm very excited for reading again, which is why sometimes it's good to treat yourself. Life's too short and all that. So I hope you enjoy this video where we're just talking about books. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and leave me a comment letting me know what's on your TBR or whether or not you've bought any new books recently. I'd love to know. So jumping straight into it, no dilly-dallying. I obviously had to pick up Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So this is the book club pick for this month that we are currently in. So this 100% I needed to buy. So this is a sci-fi. All I've heard is brilliant things. In fact, the man in the shop who was serving me the book highly raved about this book, saying that I would absolutely love it, that it's fast-paced. So I'm very excited, and I've heard very strong things. So if you are part of our book club, it is free to join, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this so far. And obviously we will have our live stream at the end of the month as well, where we can talk about it in more detail. So the live stream will be on Sunday the 30th of November. I know it's on the final Sunday of every month, but I just didn't know what this one would be. So that will be at 7 PM British time. So I'd love to see you there if you're able to join. If not, don't worry, you can leave a comment on the video as well to let me know your thoughts. But I'm just very excited. I know that some of you have told me that you're already about halfway through and you're enjoying it. So it says, a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. So it's about this person who is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission. If he fails, humanity and the Earth itself will perish. Okay, so the stakes are clearly very high. I would not want to be responsible for the whole entirety of humanity to perish if I made a mistake. But luckily that ain't my problem. So I'm very excited to read this. I also love the colours in this front cover. I was actually looking for the other front cover, which is the one that I've seen the most. I haven't actually seen this front cover before until I saw it in the shop. I'm wondering if that's because there is a movie coming out soon, isn't there, with Ryan Gosling in it? So we've timed this book club perfectly. So yeah, that is the first book, and I'm very excited to read it. Next up we have The Hunger of the Gods by Gwynne. So this is the second book in the Bloodsworn saga. So again, I don't want to keep plugging the book club, but we've had some very strong books in it this year. And The Shadow of the Gods, book number 1, was one of the books that we'd picked a few months ago. I really enjoyed it, and I've heard incredible things about the rest of the series, so it was a no-brainer. I was obviously going to continue that series. So now I have book 2, and I'm very excited to throw myself into this. I don't know why as well, but the first book gave me very like wintry feels to it. Like, it felt very seasonal for the winter. I don't know why I interpreted it that way, but I just think some of the scenery in Gwynne's writing was very wintry and magical in that kind of sense. So I thought that this would be a perfect book to read at the start of 2026 when it's very cold, it's very miserable, the weather is not great, and I think that this will be perfectly timed for that. What else do I want to say about this? I also love the front cover. I love the front cover of the first one, and this one is just so cool. So I'm very excited to continue that series. If you didn't know, this is a Norse-inspired fantasy series. There were 3 main POVs in the first book, and they're kind of like, what are they? Are they like Vikings, barbarians? A very interesting style of fantasy, and the fantasy elements and the way that the gods work is very compelling, very unique. And there was a huge showdown at the end of the first book, which I absolutely loved. It had me hooked. So I'm very excited to read the second one. The next book that I picked up, something a little more lighthearted perhaps, but I picked up Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. So this is the second book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I only very recently read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and it surprised me at being a 5-star read. I don't rate 5 stars very often. I was not expecting that to be one. It was honestly incredible. So the premise is about a coffee shop that has the ability to time travel, but the risk is that you must return to the present before your cup of coffee gets cold. And it was following the stories of 4 visitors to the cafe and their different reasons for time travelling. And it was so thought-provoking. And it was about raising those questions of, what would you do if you could go back to the past? If you could speak to someone that maybe you'll never get the chance to again, or if you could have slightly different conversations with people. And it was just very, very insightful. So I was delighted to hear that there are actually quite a lot of books in the series. They're all very short, quick reads. I absolutely love the front covers. And as far as I'm aware, I feel like this is just the same premise as the first one really, but just more of it. So it's the same cafe, it's the same ability to time travel, and I'm just really, really excited to read more. Oh yeah, so in the first book, it was set out into different contents depending on who the people were that you would be following. So on this one, the contents are the best friend, mother and son, the lovers, and the married couple. So those are obviously the 4 customers that we are going to be following in this one. I just really loved the first one. It's definitely a book that I would reread as well if I wanted something quite thought-provoking, very quick, very easy to read, and also if I wanted a bit of a palate cleanser or a buffer between the heavier fantasy reads. So I'd highly recommend this very cute series. Next up, I have bought the final book in a series that I really want to continue and that I absolutely love. So I bought The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. So this is the 3rd book in the First Law trilogy. I have the first 2. They're behind me somewhere, aren't they? Where are they? They're definitely... Oh, is it those 2? I think it's those, yeah. So I have the first 2, and it was annoying me that I didn't have the 3rd one. I don't know why I didn't, because I know for a fact I will complete this series. I absolutely loved the first book, The Blade itself. I made a video not too long ago saying that if I feel the same way about the 2nd and 3rd book that I did about the first book in the series, then I think Joe Abercrombie could become one of my favourite authors. I loved the first book that much. And so I immediately picked up the 2nd one, but I just haven't read it yet. So I thought, whilst I saw this in the shop, I would pick up the 3rd one, I'd complete the series, I'd have them all displayed on my bookshelf, and then I can start to finish the series next year, and I'm so excited for it. I think it'll be a good time. I also love these front covers. They remind me of like parchment. I don't know, there's something about these front covers that I love. Now I'm not going to read the blurb for this because it will probably spoil things from book 2, but The First Law is a grimdark fantasy following multi-POVs, all on different storylines, but then they start to interlink towards the end of the first book, and they all end up on the same adventure or the same quest, but for different motives and different reasons. I also think one of Joe Abercrombie's strengths is his characters. Like, some of these characters are so unique. I'm thinking of Glockter in particular. I've never known a character like him in another fantasy series or novel. So the characters are such a massive strength for The First Law, and also the perfect balance between humour and deep, serious themes. You've got a bit of banter from the characters and the dialogue, but then you've got the deep, underlying, serious themes that make you think. And that's why I loved the first book. So I'm very excited for the 2nd and the 3rd as well. And then the last 4 books that I bought were all by the same author. So these are by Freida McFadden. So I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I can't remember which one it was exactly, I've never read any Freida McFadden, but I really want to. So the first book that I bought by her was The Intruder, which I'm still going to read, and it sounds incredible. The whole premise of it is about this woman who lives in a cabin, and then there is this hurricane, and then there's somebody who intrudes in the cabin, and there's a lot of juicy stuff that goes down, and it is a thriller. The only issue with that is that I was so excited to read it, went onto TikTok, and the first thing I see is a spoiler for the massive plot twist in The Intruder, and it is a big plot twist, and it just won't hit the same now I know it's coming, and I'm so sad about that. So I am still going to read it, and I think it's going to be another perfect wintry read because it's set in a storm, in a hurricane, the weather's terrible in it, a cabin in the woods. I still want to read that. I just don't think I should read that as my first Freida McFadden book now that the plot twist isn't going to hit me the same. So I'm hoping, oh that was a loud bang, that one of these books will be a plot twist from Freida McFadden. I've just realised one of these books isn't by Freida McFadden. That one definitely isn't. I don't know why I picked that up. I'll talk about that one in a moment then. But yeah, I'm hoping that there will be a plot twist in one of these 4 books. So I'll do a rundown of the ones that I've got. If you've read any of them, feel free to let me know which ones you would recommend out of these first, or whether or not you enjoyed them. As you can see from the annoying stickers that they've put on the front of each book, this was a bargain. So in the works, if you live in the UK or in a country that has the works, although I'm pretty sure that is only the UK, throughout the entire month of November, they are extending their current deal. So normally they have a bargain of 3 books for £7.50, which is incredible because in the other bookstores that I went to for the other books, it was £10.99 for 1 book, which is actually crazy. Like the cost of living crisis has really gone up in terms of the book market. In the works, you can get 3 books for £7.50. However, for the whole month of November, they are doing 4 books for £7.50. So you are getting an additional book in that offer. So I had to do it. It's a crazy deal. It's incredible. I have a feeling I will definitely be going back to the works in the month of November to get another 4 books for £7.50. That's incredible. First book I got was Never Lie. So this one is about a couple who move into a new house and they are renovating it, making it the house of their dreams. But it belonged to a psychiatrist who vanished suspiciously. Oh, this one might, oh my goodness, this one might be a good one to read in the winter. So it says, so the house once belonged to a psychiatrist who vanished without a trace years ago, but when a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, the house begins to lose its appeal. Okay, this might be a January book. A violent winter storm in January, where there's always violent winter storms? Yeah. Okay, I'm definitely going to read this in January. So it's about trying to learn about the doctor's disappearance. I am going to try and avoid at all costs anything related to these Freida McFadden books, because if I get another plot twist spoilt for me, I might cry. I might break down in physical tears. It hurt. When I read the plot twist for The Intruder and I couldn't forget that information, I was immediately clinically depressed. Okay, that's a stretch too far, but either way, it hurt. It really hurt. Next Freida McFadden book is Do Not Disturb. So this one, Quinn Alexander has committed an unthinkable crime, so she makes a run for it. She leaves behind her home, her job and her family and races to the northern border before the police can discover what she's done. But when an unexpected snowstorm forces her off the road, she's forced to take refuge at the broken down, isolated Baxter Motel. Okay, why are there so many snowstorms? These books are all appropriate for winter and now I don't know which one to read first. So my January TBR is basically going to be filled with Freida McFadden. The gist of this is that the Baxter Motel is very sus. There's clearly very disturbing things going on in this motel that Quinn is forced to stay in. So it says, in the morning, Quinn will leave the motel. She'll pack up her belongings and get back on the road to freedom. But first, she must survive the night. So that just sounds very cool as well. The next one that I got, which I've had my eye on for a while by Freida McFadden, is The Inmate. So this one is about a high security prison, and the main woman who works there has some kind of like intimate past with one of the prisoners, I'm pretty sure. Nobody knows about her intimate connection to Shane Nelson, one of the most notorious and dangerous inmates. They certainly don't know that Shane was Brooke's high school sweetheart, the golden boy who's serving a life sentence for a series of grisly murders, or that Brooke's testimony was what put him there. But Shane knows he knows more than anyone and he will never forget. The Inmate is a mind-bending thriller about how we define guilt and who has to pay for it. So that just sounds very juicy. So that one, I didn't hear anything about a snowstorm in the winter, so I think I could save this for a little bit later on in 2026. But either way, very excited to read this. I think it sounds so cool. And then the final Freida McFadden book that I picked up when I was in the bookstore is Ward D. Again, this is another one that I've had my eye on for a while. When I was going to buy my first book by Freida McFadden, it was going to be between Ward D and The Intruder. Obviously, I picked up The Intruder. Obviously, that has now been spoilt for me. Not salty at all about it. So now I'm gonna read Ward D as well. So this one is about a mental health hospital. So it says, all she has to do is make it through the night shift. Ward D is the hospital's mental health unit, and as a medical student, Amy is required to gain experience on the floor. But little do her colleagues know, it may force her to confront a past she's fought hard to forget. The night starts, the countdown begins. Amy grows increasingly convinced that something terrible is happening within the ward's tightly secured walls. When patients and staff start to vanish without a trace, it becomes clear that everyone on the unit is in grave danger. Amy never wanted to spend the night on Ward D, but now she might not make it out alive. Again, it just sounds so cool, so I'm very excited to read this one as well. So those are all of my fantasy and thrillery reads that I picked up, and then the final book that I purchased when I was in the bookstore is a December-y, Christmassy read. But normally I tend to read a Christmas romance. This is definitely not that. This one is called Murder at Mistletoe Manor. 'Tis the Season for Murder by F.L. Everett. So on the front it says, a perfect contemporary whodunit. I love a whodunit, I love a murder mystery. Welcome to Mistletoe Manor Hotel. 4 days before Christmas, 12 stranded strangers gather round a crackling fire. They are sheltering from the storm raging outside, but their relief is short-lived. As the snow deepens, the tree-lined avenue winding through the hotel's parkland becomes impassable. Their isolation is complete. The next morning, a body is found in one of the luxurious four-poster beds. As 12 strangers become 11 suspects, who among them has checked in with murder in mind, and will any of them live to see another Christmas? So this is going to be a perfect Christmas murder mystery. That is what I'm expecting from this. I also think the front cover of this is absolutely beautiful. I mean, how much more festive can you get? I genuinely can't wait to read this. I've never read a murder mystery set at Christmas time before, and actually I've never even read that many murder mysteries. I can't believe it's taken me this long to pick some up. In fact, I think the only one that I've read is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, which is very light-hearted, fluffy, not very serious murder mystery, but it was a good time. So I'm hoping that this one will be similar, just a very cool murder mystery. Like, I love playing murder mystery board games, so why would I not want to read one? I obviously would. So if you do have any recommendations for good murder mysteries that you've read, I would absolutely love to hear about that, because I really do like them. They really do make me think. They make me use parts of my brain I never normally use. So in a way, murder mysteries make me smarter. So I'm very excited to read this. This will obviously be on my December TBR, because I'm going to read this near Christmas time, otherwise it's not relevant anymore. And those are all the books that I bought. Hey, look at that. I'm very excited. This makes me very excited. I think there's some very strong books in this video. If I do say so myself, I'm very good at picking out books to read. In my very biased opinion. So let me know whether or not you've read any of these books and what did you think to them. Let me know as well whether or not there's anything on your TBR that you're hoping to pick up soon. So that is my haul and also a sneak peek into some of my December and January TBRs. Lots of books about winter snowstorms. I'm gonna have to wait for like the most perfect rainy, stormy day in order to read some of these. And actually, there's not a single romance in here. Oh my goodness, there isn't. Am I a changed person? There just hasn't really been a romance this year that's been like pulling me in. Like, it's really been the fantasy reads and the thriller reads and the horrors that have really captivated me this year. So yeah, maybe my reading tastes and my reading preferences are changing a little bit. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you want access to bonus content and behind the scenes stuff, then please check out my Patreon. If you like my content and you want to see more from me, then please subscribe, because it's free and it means that you'll see my videos easier. I also want to give a huge thank you to the members that are supporting my channel. It honestly means the world to me and you are so appreciated. If you would like access to cool perks, or you'd like your name featured at the end of each of my videos, then please check out the channel memberships. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time, or rather you'll see me, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.